Wadgetai, yet once more everybody act surprised. I've covered a number of their titles now, and I've started to realise something. I've never mentioned any of these games as original incarnations. Basically, a lot of Wadget Eye works have earlier versions, and what's being sold today is essentially a remastered edition. They'll upgrade the engine, improve the graphics, add voice acting, slip in references to their other games, blooper reel, achievements, commentary, all that Wadget Eye stuff you've come to expect. So the games haven't suddenly appeared out of nowhere, they've actually been around longer than you'd think. In fact, today's game was Wadget Eye's first commercial release, but the original freeware version actually predates the company entirely. Yeah, it was made for and won an Adventure Game Studio game making competition. Which might explain the length. The Shiva has you playing Russell Stone, a rabbi whose synagogue has seen better days, and a congregation which has trouble staying in the single digits. Assuming 0 doesn't count as a digit, which it does, but shut up. One day the lack of people and mounting debts just get to him. He leaves mid-sermon, sends his cantor home, and presumably plans on abandoning the entire rabbi deal, until he finds out he's been left a hearty sum of cash in somebody's will. The will of a former member of his synagogue. Someone he hasn't seen in 8 years and apparently has no reason to like Rabbi Stone, let alone bequeath him anything of this magnitude. Sensing that something's plain wrong about the situation, Stone turns detective to find out what, how, and why the hell is going on. It seems to be a strange trend for Wadget Eye games to involve detective work of some kind. The Blackwell games have you investigating the former lives of ghosts. Technobabylon puts you in the boots of an actual future police guy, future police gal, and future non-police gal who does the detective thing anyway. Resonance has 4 of the buggers playing Private Eye, except for, I guess, the one who's already a cop. That said, I certainly find it more interesting to piece together clues than to rub items together. Actually, apart from the really short length, that's the one major departure that the Shiva makes. No inventory puzzles at all. Those items are for eyeballs only. I'm not sure what other use a Yiddish dictionary would have, but for someone as unfamiliar with the faith as myself, it's pretty useful. The obvious temptation at this point would be to throw in a reference to show I'd done my research, like calling myself a goy or something, but I'm better than that. And so are you, you'd see right through it. You smart, presumably attractive person, you. With the absence of an interactive inventory, dialogue puzzles seem to become the new hot gameplay pin-up instead. Being a rabbi, the stereotype is apparently to always answer a question with a question. To that effect, most dialogue trees will feature at least one rabbinical response. 2 of those dialogue trees determine whether Rabbi Stone lives or dies, but not in a way that seems overly unfair. It's far from being an instant death scenario. Don't worry, I'll not spoil them, there's precious little in this game as it is. In fact, I'm probably going to run out of spoiler-free footage pretty soon. I know I keep going on and on about how long it isn't, but it's very, very short and I'm afraid you'll forget if I don't keep mentioning it. You know, it's important. So that's what's different about this game, and it's not insignificant. On the other hand, some of the more familiar yet welcome features of Wadget Eye games' games are here. The 2-button use look interface, the pop-out inventory and clues bar, features the voice of Abe Goldfarb, that kind of thing. But this cursor bugged me a little bit. We're used to seeing things like arrows and hands. I'm sure there's at least one that's an erect penis. I'm quite aware of which internet I'm on here. Now, I think I understand the significance of it. It's the symbol for chai, a Hebrew word which means living. Very appropriate for the theme of the game, yet completely awkward to use as a mouse cursor. Even though I knew the little flick in the top left was what you had to line up, I'd still do a mental double take whenever I had to use it. Personally, I would have probably made it a yad instead. That's the hand-shaped pointer thing used for reading the Torah. It wouldn't carry the same significance, sure, but it's a more comfortable shape. Now, this didn't ruin the game for me, and for all I know, I'm the only person who has this problem, but it totally warrants an entire paragraph of whining. One thing I hope doesn't happen here is that people are driven away thinking, I don't know how to Jewish, I not will understand. You don't need to. The game tells you enough to understand what you're doing and why people are acting the way they are. I was spotting little references here and there, and the last time I had any kind of schooling on Judaism was 18 years ago. While I'm old. To help you along, you start out with a Yiddish dictionary, which I mentioned before, and that gives you some of the more common words and their meanings as you would expect a dictionary to do. Shiva is on the list, thankfully, because I had no idea what that meant. Mourning period, huh? Yeah, fits the theme nicely. If nothing else, it's refreshing to see a faith being referenced that isn't a vague analogue for happyology or your garden variety Christian priest, and isn't a blatant and or offensive stereotype. On that note, is there a game that's done those arseholes from the Westboro Baptist Church yet? Seems like a thing that should have happened. Not that this game should be taken as a representation of Judaism as a whole, much like you shouldn't represent all video games with Call of Duty. I mean, you name any other game where you can visit not 1 but 2 synagogues. That's worth an extra 1% on the score I'm not giving out, right? And once we've done away with traditional things like inventory puzzles, we can see one of the core Wadjet Eye strengths in play: having actual characters. I've mentioned the rabbi stereotype of answering questions with questions earlier, but that's not the extent of their characters. The mystery that unfolds tells you as much about the characters involved as it does about the events that led to that situation. Developers, look at how much you can get out of actually writing characters rather than dialogue vending machines. It's pretty groovy. Except maybe this bartender, he really wasn't up for much of a chinwag. But what do you expect when you walk into a bar and start talking about murder? Fair ruins your Saturday night, that does. The Shiva is really good for a competition entry. I can see why it won, and there's no reason to not try selling it afterwards, especially after going back and making it all shiny. And I'm especially glad they did, because the resolution options on older AGS games are woefully lacking. But, as I've been trying to stress to you, this will not last you a long time. If you go full ham, you'll probably have this done in a single evening, and that's taking the multiple endings into account. It's $4.99 at the time of writing, and frankly, you need to decide for yourself if a few hours of entertainment is worth that price. And when I say a few hours, I mean it, like 2 to 4 hours. But it is well made, well written, it's entertaining, and I definitely don't regret my purchase. And really, what other games can you play as a rabbi?